Everyone's been asking who she is. Me's today, I'm telling you, the curiosity had been building for months. Every time I posted a picture with you, whether it was a glimpse of your hand holding mine, a shadowed silhouette against the sunset, or even just the edge of your smile, my messages were flooded with the same question: who is she? Friends, family, even people who barely interacted with me before suddenly had an opinion, a guess, or a demand. Some thought you were just a phase, a passing moment in my life that didn't need an explanation. Others speculated wildly, assuming you were someone controversial, someone I was hiding because I had to. But the truth was, I wasn't hiding you. I was protecting what we had, until now. Today I want to tell them, tell everyone, because you are more than just the girl in my photos, more than a mystery people are trying to solve. You are the reason I started believing in love again. I met you when I wasn't looking, when I was convinced I was better off alone. Love had been nothing but a letdown, an illusion I had learned to live without. And yet, you walked in, not trying to fix me, not trying to change me, just being there. And somehow, that was enough. You are the one who sees me when the cameras are off, when the jokes stop, when the weight of everything I never say out loud threatens to pull me under. And instead of telling me to just get over it, you sit beside me in the silence and remind me that I don't have to carry it alone. You are the one who taught me that love isn't grand gestures and picture-perfect moments. It's remembering how I take my coffee, sending me a song you think I'd like, squeezing my hand in a crowded room just to let me know you're there. You are the one who faced every doubt, every whisper, every side glance from people who thought they knew me better than I knew myself. She's not your type. She doesn't fit your world. Are you sure about this? They questioned. They assumed. They judged. But you never let it shake you. You stood your ground, not because you had anything to prove, but because you knew. And I knew too. So to everyone who's been asking, wondering, speculating, this is her. The woman who changed my life in ways I never saw coming. The one who made me believe again. The one I will never take for granted. And if you're still asking why her, then maybe you never really understood me at all. I remember the first time I told my closest friend about you. He stared at me for a long moment before finally saying, "Really? Her?" Not in a cruel way. Not with malice, just confusion. I asked him what he meant. She just doesn't seem like the kind of girl you'd go for. You usually have a type. Ah, yes. The infamous type. The version of me that people had constructed in their heads. The assumptions that had been built around past relationships, past choices, past mistakes. What they didn't understand, what they refused to understand, was that my past had nothing to do with you. You weren't just another version of someone I had loved before. You were you, unique, untouched by my history. And that's why I chose you. That's why I fought for you when people questioned our relationship, when family members hesitated, when so-called friends pulled me aside and asked if I was sure. I was sure the moment I saw you smile at me, like I was someone worth knowing. The moment you laughed at a joke no one else understood. The moment you told me your dreams, not in a way that expected me to fit into them, but as if you just wanted me to know. People thought they knew what love looked like on me. They were wrong. Love wasn't about finding someone who fit a checklist. It wasn't about picking the person everyone else thought made sense. It was about finding the one person who made everything feel different. With you, I didn't feel like I had to be on all the time. I didn't have to put on a show. I didn't have to prove anything. I could just be. And yet, the questions didn't stop. Are you really serious about her? What if she's not the one? Don't you think you're rushing into this? People wanted to understand. They wanted to pick apart every detail, analyze every reason, find the logic behind something that was never meant to be logical in the first place. Because love, real love, isn't something that can be explained in bullet points. It isn't something that needs approval from the outside world. It's something you feel, and I feel it every single time I look at you. I see it in the way you tuck your hair behind your ear when you're nervous, in the way you roll your eyes when I make a bad joke, but still end up laughing, in the way you reach for my hand, not because you need to, but just because you want to. So to everyone who has been asking, yes, this is her, the one I've been waiting for, the one I didn't know I needed, until she was standing right in front of me. And no, I don't need anyone else to understand it, because we do. The first time I showed your picture to my parents, they didn't say anything right away. My mother held the phone in her hands, staring at the screen like she was searching for something beyond your face, beyond your eyes, beyond the smile I had come to love. My father, on the other hand, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Then, after a long moment, my mother finally spoke. She's beautiful. It was a simple statement, but I could hear the weight behind it. She wasn't just talking about how you looked. She was trying to understand why this was the woman I had chosen. Tell me about her, she said, handing the phone back to me. So I did. I told her about the way you challenge me, how you don't just agree with everything I say, but push me to think in ways I never have before. I told her about the kindness in your heart, the way you go out of your way to make people feel seen. I told her about the quiet strength you carry, the way you don't seek attention, but somehow always manage to draw people in. I told her about how, for the first time in my life, I wasn't just dating someone, I was building something with you. My father was still silent, watching, and then, after what felt like forever, he finally spoke. She's not what I expected. It wasn't said with disappointment or disapproval, just honesty, and I understood. My family had an idea in their heads of the kind of person I would end up with. They had constructed a future for me based on their own experiences, their own beliefs, their own traditions. But love doesn't follow blueprints. No, I admitted, she's not. But that's exactly why she's the one. My father nodded slowly, as if weighing my words. My mother reached for my hand and gave it a small squeeze. I just hope she makes you happy, she said softly. She does, I answered, without hesitation. She really does. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized something. I had never been this sure of anything in my life. People would have their opinions. Some would understand, some wouldn't. Some would see what I saw, and some never would. But at the end of the day, none of that mattered, because I knew the truth. And the truth was simple. You were worth everything. The following days were a test of patience. My mother, as expected, warmed up quickly. She started asking small, careful questions. Things like what your favorite food was, what kind of music you liked, if you knew how to cook. But my father remained distant, not cold, not dismissive, but distant. It was a silence that spoke volumes. He had always been a man of few words, but his approval, or lack of it, was something I had grown up measuring myself against. And now I could tell he was wrestling with something. It wasn't just about you, it was about the idea of you, the idea that I had stepped outside of what he had envisioned, that I had chosen someone he wouldn't have expected. That Sunday, while I was helping him fix something in the garage, he finally spoke. So she makes you happy? I looked up from the toolbox, wiping the grease from my hands. Yeah, Dad, she does. He exhaled through his nose, thoughtful. You know, love isn't just about happiness. It's about standing by each other when happiness isn't enough. I nodded, understanding what he meant. I know, I said, and I'm ready for that. He studied me for a moment before giving a small nod. All right, that was it. No grand speech, no dramatic moment, just one word. But in that one word, I heard everything. He was still processing. He was still unsure, but he trusted me. He trusted that I knew what I was doing, and for now, that was enough. Later that night, my mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Your father is stubborn, you know that," she said, handing me a cup of tea. "But I see it in his eyes. He just wants to be sure you're not making a mistake." "I'm not," I assured her. She gave me a small knowing smile. "Then give him time." And so I did. I didn't push. I didn't try to convince him. I just kept being sure of you, sure of us. Days turned into weeks, and slowly the walls started to crack. My father started asking his own questions. Little things, small steps. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but I could see it happening. And then one evening, after dinner, he surprised me. "Invite her over." I looked up, blinking in surprise. "For dinner?" He nodded. "Let's meet her properly." And just like that, the next step was in motion. "I called you that night," my voice filled with something between excitement and nervousness. "They want to meet you," I said. There was a pause, and then your voice came through the line, steady but laced with anticipation. "Are they ready for that?" I smiled to myself. "I think they're getting there." And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The evening of the dinner arrived faster than I expected. I stood in the mirror, adjusting my collar for what felt like the 100th time. I wasn't sure why I was more nervous than you were. Maybe because I knew my father too well. He wasn't the type to sugarcoat anything. You, on the other hand, were calm. You looked stunning, wearing something elegant yet simple, just like I knew you would. As we pulled up to the house, you squeezed my hand reassuringly. "Whatever happens, we face it together," you said. I nodded, but my stomach was still in knots. My mother was the first to greet you at the door, pulling you into a warm hug as if she'd known you for years. My father, however, stood a few steps behind, his expression unreadable. He gave a polite nod, but said nothing. Dinner started off smoothly. My mother led most of the conversation, asking you about your job, your childhood, your hobbies. You answered everything with grace, and I could see her genuinely enjoying your presence. My father remained mostly silent, only speaking when necessary, but I noticed the way he watched you, not with disapproval, but with a quiet curiosity, as if he was trying to understand you beyond the surface. Then came the moment I had been dreading. "What do your parents think of him?" my father finally asked. You took a sip of water before answering. "They adore him," you said with a small smile. "They see how happy he makes me, and that's all they need to know." My father leaned back slightly, nodding, as if he were processing your words. "Happiness is important," he admitted. "But marriage is more than that. It's about facing life's hardships together, knowing that love alone won't always be enough." You met his gaze without hesitation. "I know," you said firmly. "I don't just love him when things are good. I love him for who he is, through everything." A beat of silence passed. Then for the first time that night, I saw the corner of my father's mouth lift just slightly. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was something. By the time dessert was served, the tension had eased. My father even joined in on a conversation about something as simple as movies, and I felt the relief flood through me. When it was time to leave, my mother hugged you again, whispering something in your ear that made you smile. My father, to my surprise, extended his hand to you. "It was good to meet you," he said. You shook his hand firmly. "Thank you for having me." As we walked back to the car, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" you teased. I chuckled. "I think that went better than expected." You leaned into me, lacing your fingers through mine. "We'll be okay," you whispered. And for the first time that night, I truly believed it.